Leadership has never been about volume. The strongest leaders in history were rarely the loudest voices in the room. They didn't dominate conversations, they directed them. They didn't talk to impress, they spoke to influence. And most importantly, they understood something most people miss. Leadership begins the moment you open your mouth. Every sentence you speak either increases trust or erodes it. Every pause either commands attention or signals uncertainty. People don't follow titles, they follow signals. The way you talk is one of the strongest signals you send to the world about who you are, what you believe, and whether others should trust your direction. This audiobook is not about sounding fancy. It's not about memorizing powerful words or copying charismatic personalities. Real leadership communication is internal first, external second. When your thinking becomes clear, your speech becomes powerful. When your intent becomes solid, your voice naturally carries authority. You will learn how leaders think before they speak, how they structure sentences that land with weight, how they stay calm under pressure while others collapse into noise. You'll understand why fewer words often create more impact, why silence can be more commanding than speech, and why certainty doesn't come from confidence. It comes from clarity. This is about building a voice people respect even when you're not in the room. A voice that doesn't beg for attention but naturally receives it. A voice that doesn't chase approval but creates alignment. Leadership is not announced. It is recognized. And it starts with how you talk. Chapter 1. Leaders think before they speak. Most people speak as a reflex. A thought appears, the mouth opens, and words come out unfiltered. Leaders operate differently. They treat speech as a strategic tool, not an emotional outlet. They understand that once words are spoken, they cannot be taken back, only explained or defended. That is why leaders slow the process down internally before speeding it up externally. Leadership communication starts in the mind. Before a leader speaks, there is a moment of internal organization. Ideas are arranged. Intent is clarified. The outcome is decided. This inner preparation is invisible to others, but its effect is immediately felt. When someone speaks with clarity, people sense it even before they fully understand the message. Most communication problems don't come from bad vocabulary or weak grammar. They come from unclear thinking. When thoughts are messy, speech becomes confusing. When thinking is sharp, words naturally become precise. Leaders don't search for powerful words. They create powerful thoughts and the words follow. One of the most noticeable traits of strong leaders is their comfort with silence. They don't rush to fill gaps in conversation. They don't panic when attention is on them. Silence gives them space to think and gives their words more weight when they finally speak. People often mistake speed for intelligence, but leadership is recognized in composure, not quickness. Leaders pause because they are not afraid of judgment. They know that a delayed response delivered with clarity is far more effective than an instant response filled with uncertainty. This pause also shifts power. When you are not reactive, you are perceived as being in control. Control builds trust, and trust is the foundation of leadership. Another critical difference is emotional discipline. Leaders feel anger, frustration, excitement, and pressure just like everyone else. The difference is that they do not let emotions dictate their language. Emotional speech may feel honest, but it often weakens authority. Leaders translate emotions into logic before speaking. They turn frustration into direction, fear into caution, and excitement into vision. When emotions leak directly into words, listeners become defensive or confused. When emotions are processed internally and expressed calmly, listeners become receptive. Leadership communication is not about expressing everything you feel. It is about expressing what is useful for progress. Leaders also understand framing. Every sentence frames reality in a certain way. Saying this is a crisis creates panic. Saying this is a challenge we are equipped to handle creates confidence. The facts may be identical, but the leadership impact is completely different. Leaders choose frames that move people forward rather than paralyze them. This is why leaders rarely complain out loud. Complaints drain energy and signal helplessness. Instead, leaders describe situations in terms of responsibility and solution. They don't deny problems, but they refuse to dramatize them. Calm language stabilizes the environment, and people naturally look to stable individuals for guidance. Another subtle habit of leaders is speaking with purpose, not volume. Raising your voice does not increase authority. In many cases, it reduces it. Leaders often speak slightly slower, slightly lower, and with fewer words. This creates contrast. In a noisy world, calm speech stands out. People lean in when they sense control. Leaders also know when not to speak. Not every thought deserves a voice. Not every opinion needs to be shared. Strategic silence is as important as strategic speech. Sometimes leadership means listening fully, understanding completely, and then speaking only what adds value. When people realize that you don't waste words, they listen more carefully when you do speak. Thinking before speaking also means anticipating impact. Leaders consider how their words will land, not just what they mean. They ask themselves whether their message will motivate, confuse, discourage, or empower. This doesn't mean manipulation. It means responsibility. Words shape behavior, and leaders respect that power. Over time, this habit creates a strong reputation. People begin to associate your voice with clarity and direction. Meetings become more efficient when you speak. Conversations become more focused. Even disagreement feels constructive because your language keeps things grounded. Leadership is not proven by how much you talk. It is proven by how much progress follows your words. When you think before you speak, your communication stops being noise and starts becoming leadership. The leader's voice is not loud. It is deliberate, and it always begins with thought. Chapter 2. Clarity creates authority. Authority does not come from position. It comes from clarity. People instinctively trust those who sound certain about what they are saying, even if the message is difficult. Unclear language creates hesitation. Clear language creates confidence. Leaders understand that when words are precise, authority follows naturally. Most people lose authority not because they lack knowledge, but because they overload their speech. They explain too much, justify too often, and dilute their main point with unnecessary details. Leaders do the opposite. They simplify. They reduce complexity into clean, understandable ideas. Simplicity is not weakness. It is mastery. When a leader speaks, listeners should never wonder, what was the point? If people have to interpret your meaning, you have already lost authority. Leadership communication is direct without being aggressive. It is firm without being rigid. It respects the listener's time and attention. Clarity begins with knowing exactly what you want to say. Not generally, not approximately, exactly. Leaders mentally compress their message before delivering it. If an idea cannot be explained clearly, it is not yet fully understood. Leaders take responsibility for understanding first, speaking second. Another aspect of clarity is sentence structure. Leaders avoid long, winding sentences that lose momentum. They prefer shorter, decisive statements. This creates rhythm and impact. Strong sentences land. Weak sentences drift. When your words land, people remember them. Leaders also avoid abstract language when action is required. Abstract ideas inspire thought, but concrete language drives behavior. Saying we need to improve performance is vague. Saying we need to reduce response time by 10% creates direction. Clarity removes confusion and replaces it with movement. Authority is also built by consistency. When your words align with each other over time, people trust you. When today's message contradicts yesterday's statement, authority erodes. Leaders are careful not because they fear mistakes, but because they value credibility. They don't promise what they cannot support. They don't exaggerate to sound impressive. Another powerful element of clarity is ownership. Leaders use language that reflects responsibility. They say, I will handle this instead of, this needs to be handled. They say, here is the decision instead of, maybe we could consider. Ownership in language signals leadership before any action is taken. Hesitation words weaken authority. Phrases like, I think, maybe, kind of, and I guess, subtly communicate uncertainty. Leaders don't eliminate humility, but they remove verbal doubt where confidence is required. When a leader needs input, they ask directly. When a leader has decided, they speak decisively. Clarity also means aligning words with values. Leaders do not say whatever sounds good in the moment. They speak from a stable internal framework. This creates integrity. People may not always agree with a leader's decisions, but they respect leaders whose words feel grounded and consistent. Another overlooked aspect of clarity is emotional clarity. Leaders do not hide emotions, but they name them accurately. Instead of vague frustration, they identify the issue. Instead of general stress, they describe the pressure point. Emotional clarity reduces tension and increases trust. In high-pressure situations, clarity becomes even more critical. When uncertainty rises, people look for clear voices. Leaders slow their speech in these moments. They choose words carefully. They avoid speculation. Calm clarity in chaos is one of the strongest signals of leadership. Clarity is also contagious. When a leader communicates clearly, others begin to organize their own thoughts better. Meetings become shorter. Decisions become faster. Conflicts become easier to resolve. Clear language raises the overall level of thinking in a group. Authority is not something you demand. It is something people grant when your words consistently help them see clearly. When you speak with clarity, people stop questioning your intent and start focusing on execution. A leader does not sound important. A leader sounds clear. And clarity is what makes people listen. Chapter 3. Tone is the real message. Words carry meaning, but tone carries truth. People may forget the exact sentences you use, but they will always remember how your voice made them feel. Leaders understand that communication is not only about what is said, but how it is delivered. Tone is the emotional signal behind the words, and it often speaks louder than language itself. Two people can say the same sentence and create completely different reactions. One creates trust, the other creates resistance. The difference is tone. A calm, steady tone communicates control. A rushed or sharp tone communicates pressure or insecurity. Leaders train themselves to manage tone because they know it shapes perception instantly. Most communication breakdowns are tone problems, not content problems. The message may be correct, but the tone triggers defensiveness. When people feel attacked, they stop listening. Leaders avoid this by choosing a tone that keeps others open rather than guarded. A leader's tone is usually slower than average. Speaking slowly does not mean speaking weakly. It signals confidence and authority. When you slow down, your words gain weight. People lean in because your voice does not sound desperate to be heard. Speed often signals nervousness. Control over pace signals leadership. Volume is another critical factor. Leaders do not rely on loudness to dominate a room. In fact, controlled volume often commands more attention than raised voices. A calm, firm voice cuts through noise more effectively than shouting. People instinctively respect those who do not need to raise their voice to be taken seriously. Tone also reflects emotional stability. In stressful situations, most people tighten their voice, speak faster, or sound defensive. Leaders do the opposite. They lower their tone slightly, slow their pace, and simplify their language. This creates a calming effect. When the leader is calm, the environment follows. Another element of leadership tone is warmth. Authority without warmth feels cold and distant. Warmth without authority feels weak. Leaders balance both. Their tone is respectful but firm, friendly but clear. This balance creates trust without sacrificing direction. Sarcasm, irritation, and passive aggression are common tone traps. Even when unintended, they undermine leadership. These tones signal frustration rather than control. Leaders avoid them because they know that respect is fragile. Once lost, it is difficult to regain. Tone also communicates certainty. Even when delivering bad news or difficult decisions, leaders keep their tone grounded. They do not apologize excessively, and they do not over-explain. A steady tone during discomfort reassures people that the situation is being handled. Leaders also adapt tone based on context. A team discussion, a one-on-one conversation, and a crisis moment each require a different vocal approach. Leadership is not monotone. It is flexible without being inconsistent. The underlying calm remains even as expression changes. Listening also has a tone. When leaders listen, they do so without interruption, judgment, or visible impatience. This silent tone of attention makes people feel valued. People speak more honestly when they sense genuine presence. Strong listening strengthens leadership without saying a word. Tone is especially powerful in moments of disagreement. Leaders avoid sharpness and defensiveness. They keep their voice neutral and focused on understanding. This prevents conflict from becoming personal. A controlled tone keeps discussions productive, even when opinions differ. Over time, people associate a leader's tone with safety and clarity. When you speak, people feel steady rather than anxious. This emotional consistency becomes part of your leadership identity. Leadership tone is not an acting skill. It is a reflection of internal discipline. When your mind is calm, your voice follows naturally. You don't force a leader's tone. You become someone whose tone naturally leads. People may analyze your words, but they respond to your tone. And leaders master the message beneath the message. Chapter 4. Less words, more impact. Leaders understand a simple truth that most people ignore. The more you talk, the less people listen. Influence is not created by the number of words you use, but by the weight those words carry. Strong leaders are not verbose. They are precise. Most people believe that explaining more will make them sound smarter or more convincing. In reality, over-explaining signals uncertainty. When you keep adding details, clarifications, and justifications, people sense that you are trying to convince yourself as much as them. Leaders remove excess. They say what matters and stop. Brevity is a leadership skill. It shows confidence in your thinking. When you trust your ideas, you don't feel the need to wrap them in extra language. Short, direct statements create clarity. They also create authority because they sound intentional rather than defensive. Leaders choose words carefully. Every sentence has a purpose. If a sentence does not move the conversation forward, it is unnecessary. This discipline makes people pay attention. When listeners know that you don't waste words, they listen closely to everyone you say. Another reason fewer words work is focus. Long explanations often blur the main point. Short statements sharpen it. When the message is sharp, people remember it. Leadership communication is not about being understood eventually. It is about being understood immediately. Leaders also understand the power of pauses. A pause after a key sentence allows the message to sink in. It gives people time to process and signals confidence. Rushing through points weakens their impact. Silence, when used intentionally, amplifies meaning. In meetings, leaders often speak last. They listen first, absorb the information, and then summarize the situation in a few clear sentences. This ability to compress complexity into simplicity is one of the clearest signs of leadership. People trust those who can make things feel manageable. Another aspect of impactful speech is avoiding filler language. Words like basically, actually, you know, and kind of dilute authority. Leaders eliminate verbal fillers because they add noise without value. Clean language sounds stronger and more credible. Leaders also avoid repeating themselves unnecessarily. Repetition without purpose suggests insecurity. If something is important, they say it once, clearly. If emphasis is needed, they reinforce it with tone or timing, not repetition. Fewer words also reduce misunderstanding. The more you say, the more room there is for misinterpretation. Leaders simplify not because the audience is incapable, but because clarity protects alignment. Clear direction reduces confusion and conflict. When delivering instructions or decisions, leaders focus on outcomes, not narratives. They state what needs to happen, why it matters, and what success looks like. They do not overload people with background stories unless necessary. Action requires clarity, not history. This does not mean leaders are silent or distant. It means they are intentional. They speak when it adds value and remain quiet when it does not. This selectiveness creates presence. When a leader finally speaks, the room listens. Over time, this habit shapes perception. People describe such leaders as sharp, clear, and decisive. These labels do not come from charisma. They come from discipline in speech. Leadership is not about saying everything you know. It is about saying exactly what is needed. Nothing more, nothing less. Chapter 5. Speak with intent, not emotion. Emotion gives energy, but intent gives direction. Leaders understand the difference. Most people speak from how they feel in the moment. Leaders speak from what needs to happen next. This shift is subtle, but it completely changes how their words land. Speaking emotionally often feels honest, but it rarely feels reliable. When emotions control language, messages become unpredictable. One moment the tone is calm, the next it is sharp or defensive. Listeners feel this instability and lose trust. Leaders create stability by anchoring their speech in intent rather than mood. Intent answers a simple question before a leader speaks. What is the purpose of this sentence? Is it to inform, to align, to decide, or to calm? When intent is clear, words naturally become more controlled. When intent is missing, emotion fills the gap. This does not mean leaders suppress emotion. It means they translate it. Frustration becomes clarity. Concern becomes caution. Excitement becomes vision. Leaders process emotions internally before expressing them externally. This filtering is what gives their communication authority. Emotional speech often includes blame, exaggeration, or defensiveness. These signals immediately trigger resistance. Leaders avoid this by focusing on facts, direction, and responsibility. Instead of saying this is unacceptable, they say this needs to change and here is how. The message stays firm without becoming volatile. Another difference is how leaders handle pressure. Under stress, emotional language tightens. Words become rushed, sentences become sharp, and tone becomes reactive. Leaders slow down under pressure. This reversal signals control. When others feel rushed, a leader's calm speech becomes an anchor. Intent-driven communication also respects timing. Leaders know when to speak and when to wait. Not every emotion needs immediate expression. Sometimes clarity improves with distance. Leaders allow emotions to settle so that intent becomes clearer. Leaders also separate identity from outcome. Emotional speech often sounds personal. Failures feel like attacks and feedback feels threatening. Leaders frame issues around results, not ego. This keeps conversations productive and reduces defensiveness on both sides. Another key aspect is responsibility language. Leaders use I and we intentionally. They do not hide behind vague statements. Clear ownership in speech builds trust. When a leader takes responsibility verbally, people are more willing to take responsibility in action. Intent also sharpens boundaries. Leaders are clear about what is acceptable and what is not. They do not rely on emotional reactions to enforce standards. They state expectations calmly and consistently. This predictability creates respect. When leaders disagree, intent keeps the conversation constructive. Instead of arguing to win, they speak to understand and decide. Their language stays focused on the objective, not the emotion. This makes even difficult conversations feel professional rather than personal. Over time, people learn that a leader's words are not emotional reactions. They are signals. Signals of direction, stability, and decision. This reliability is what makes others feel safe enough to follow. Leadership communication is not about expressing how you feel. It is about expressing what matters. Intent gives words their power. Chapter 6. Presence speaks before words. Before a leader says anything, their presence already communicates. People begin forming impressions the moment you enter a room, join a call, or stand to speak. Leadership is not announced with words. It is sensed through presence. Strong leaders understand that how they show up often matters more than what they say. Presence is the alignment of posture, attention, energy, and voice. When these elements are grounded, your words automatically carry more weight. When they are scattered, even good ideas sound weak. Leaders work on presence not as performance but as discipline. A leader's posture signals confidence without effort. Standing or sitting upright, relaxed but steady, communicates control. Slouching, fidgeting, or constant movement signals nervousness. People may not consciously notice these details, but they feel them. Presence sets the emotional tone before speech begins. Eye contact is another powerful element. Leaders do not scan the room nervously or avoid connection. They hold eye contact calmly, not aggressively. This creates trust and focus. When people feel seen, they listen more attentively. Leadership presence is inclusive, not intimidating. Attention is also part of presence. Leaders are fully present in conversations. They are not distracted, multitasking, or mentally elsewhere. This level of attention makes people feel valued. When a leader listens deeply, their responses naturally become more relevant and impactful. Leaders also manage their physical energy. They do not rush movements or gestures. Everything appears deliberate. This calm physical rhythm translates into vocal authority. When the body is controlled, the voice follows. Another key aspect of presence is emotional steadiness. Leaders do not bring chaos into a room. Even when situations are uncertain, they remain centered. This does not mean they pretend everything is fine. It means they do not amplify stress through their behavior. Calm presence reduces anxiety before any words are spoken. Voice is where presence and speech connect. Leaders speak from a grounded place. Their voice is supported, not strained. They do not speak from the throat or rush their breath. A steady breath creates a steady voice. A steady voice creates trust. Presence also involves comfort with stillness. Leaders do not feel the need to constantly move, gesture, or fill space. Stillness is powerful. When you are comfortable being still, people sense confidence. Movement becomes intentional rather than nervous. In virtual environments, presence still matters. Leaders look into the camera, speak clearly, and avoid distractions. They create the same sense of focus and stability through the screen. Digital leadership presence is about clarity, attention, and consistency. Another important element is self-awareness. Leaders notice how they are being perceived and adjust without losing authenticity. This is not self-consciousness, it is social intelligence. Awareness allows leaders to stay effective in different environments. Over time, strong presence builds credibility. People trust leaders whose energy feels stable. They feel safe bringing problems, ideas, and disagreements. Presence creates psychological safety, and safety fuels performance. When presence is strong, words don't have to work as hard. Messages land more easily. Authority feels natural rather than forced. People listen not because they are told to, but because something about your presence invites attention. Leadership presence is not a trick. It is the result of internal calm and external discipline. And it speaks before words ever do. Chapter 7. Decisive language builds trust. People trust leaders who sound decided. Uncertainty in language creates hesitation in others. Even when situations are complex, leaders understand that their role is to bring direction, not confusion. Decisive language does not mean arrogance. It means clarity combined with responsibility. Most people weaken their message by leaving decisions open unintentionally. Phrases like "we'll see," "let's think about it," or "maybe this could work" signal hesitation even when none is intended. Leaders are careful with such language. When a decision is made, they communicate it clearly. Decisive language starts with ownership. Leaders say, "This is the plan," instead of "this might be the plan." They say, "We will move forward with this," instead of "we could consider moving forward." This certainty helps others align quickly. Alignment saves time, energy, and momentum. Confidence in speech does not come from knowing everything. It comes from accepting responsibility for the outcome. Leaders understand that perfect information is rare. Waiting for complete certainty often means missing the right moment. Decisive language signals that you are willing to move forward and adjust if needed. Another important element is eliminating verbal hesitation. Words like "I think," "I feel," and "I'm not sure" have their place, but overuse weakens authority. Leaders choose when to use them. When clarity is needed, they speak directly. When collaboration is needed, they invite input deliberately. Decisive leaders also separate discussion from decision. During discussion, language is open and exploratory. Once a decision is made, language becomes firm and focused. Mixing these phases creates confusion. Clear leaders signal the transition through their words. Tone matters here as well. Decisive language is calm, not forceful. Raising your voice or sounding aggressive does not increase certainty. It increases resistance. A steady, controlled tone reinforces the message that the decision is thoughtful and intentional. Leaders also avoid over-justifying decisions. Too much explanation sounds like self-doubt. They provide enough reasoning to create understanding, then move forward. Excess justification invites unnecessary debate and weakens confidence. Another powerful habit is stating next steps clearly. Decisive language does not stop at the decision. It outlines action. Is responsible, what needs to happen, and by when. This turns words into momentum. In moments of disagreement, leaders remain decisive without being dismissive. They acknowledge input, then restate the decision clearly. This balance preserves respect while maintaining direction. People often say they want democratic leadership, but what they truly want is clarity. Endless discussion without resolution creates frustration. Leaders serve their teams by making clear calls and standing behind them. Over time, decisive language builds a reputation. People know where you stand. They know what to expect. Even when outcomes are not perfect, trust remains because the process was clear and responsible. Leadership is not about being right all the time. It is about being clear every time. Decisive words create confident followers. Chapter 8. Influence without force. True leaders do not rely on pressure to move people. They rely on influence. Force creates compliance. Influence creates commitment. The difference shows up in how people speak about you when you are not in the room. Leaders understand that lasting impact comes from persuasion, not control. Influence begins with respect. When people feel respected, they are more open to guidance. Leaders communicate in a way that preserves dignity, even when delivering firm direction. They do not talk down, interrupt unnecessarily, or dismiss perspectives. Respectful language lowers resistance and increases cooperation. Another core element of influence is alignment. Leaders connect ideas to shared values and goals. Instead of saying, "Do this because I said so," they explain why it matters. When people see how a decision connects to something meaningful, they move willingly rather than reluctantly. Influential leaders also ask better questions. Questions invite participation. They shift people from passive listeners to active thinkers. A well-placed question can guide someone to the right conclusion without direct instruction. This creates ownership, which is far more powerful than obedience. Language choice matters here. Leaders use inclusive language like "we" and "our" when appropriate. This signals partnership rather than hierarchy. At the same time, they do not hide leadership behind false equality. Influence works best when roles are clear and respect flows both ways. Another important factor is emotional intelligence. Leaders sense the emotional state of others and adjust their approach. They know when to push, when to pause, and when to listen. Influence requires timing. Even the right message can fail if delivered at the wrong moment. Leaders also influence by example in their speech. They model the tone, clarity, and respect they expect from others. This sets an unspoken standard. People tend to mirror communication styles, and leaders use this to elevate conversations rather than dominate them. Storytelling is another subtle tool of influence. Leaders use brief, relevant stories to illustrate ideas and make them memorable. These stories are not dramatic performances. They are purposeful examples that reinforce values and direction. A well-told story can shift perspective more effectively than data alone. Influence also means knowing when not to push. Leaders recognize resistance and do not escalate unnecessarily. They allow space for reflection. Sometimes influence happens after the conversation ends, not during it. Patience is part of leadership power. Trust is the foundation of influence. When people trust your intent, they are more receptive to your guidance. Trust is built through consistency, honesty, and follow-through. Words create expectations. Leaders honor those expectations with action. Influential leaders also listen deeply. They do not listen to respond. They listen to understand. This makes people feel heard, which reduces defensiveness. Feeling heard often opens the door to influence more than any argument. Over time, people begin to align with leaders not because they have to, but because they want to. This voluntary alignment is the highest form of leadership influence. Leadership influence is quiet. It does not demand attention. It earns it. Chapter 9. Leading difficult conversations. Difficult conversations are where leadership is truly tested. Anyone can communicate when things are easy. Leaders are recognized by how they speak when stakes are high, emotions are strong, and outcomes matter. These moments require clarity, calm, and control. The first rule of leading difficult conversations is preparation. Leaders do not walk in emotionally loaded and mentally unprepared. They clarify the purpose of the conversation before it begins. Is the goal to correct behavior, align expectations, deliver feedback, or make a hard decision? When purpose is clear, the conversation stays focused. Leaders begin difficult conversations with context, not accusation. Accusations trigger defensiveness. Context creates understanding. Instead of starting with blame, they describe the situation and its impact. This keeps the discussion grounded in reality rather than emotion. Tone becomes especially important here. Leaders keep their voice steady and neutral. Sharpness escalates conflict. Calmness reduces it. Even when delivering tough messages, leaders avoid sounding punitive. Authority does not require harshness. Another critical skill is separating behavior from identity. Leaders address actions, not character. Saying this behavior is not working is very different from saying you are the problem. The first invites improvement. The second creates resistance. Leaders protect dignity while demanding accountability. Listening is not optional in difficult conversations. Leaders give space for response without interruption. They listen not to defend their position but to understand perspective. This does not mean they change the decision every time. It means they respect the process. Clear boundaries are essential. Leaders are empathetic, but they are not vague. They state expectations clearly. Compassion without clarity creates confusion. Clarity without compassion creates fear. Leadership requires both. Leaders also manage their reactions. When emotions rise, they slow the conversation down. They pause. They breathe. They do not match intensity with intensity. This emotional regulation keeps the conversation productive. Another important element is timing. Leaders choose the right moment and the right environment. Public criticism weakens trust. Private conversations preserve respect. Good timing increases the chances of positive outcomes. Leaders also avoid overloading the conversation. They focus on one or two key points rather than listing every issue. Too many points dilute the message and overwhelm the listener. Focus creates progress. At the end of difficult conversations, leaders clarify next steps. What changes? What support is available? What will be reviewed later? This turns discomfort into direction. Not every difficult conversation ends with agreement. Leadership does not require universal approval. It requires clarity, fairness, and follow-through. When people feel they were treated with respect, they accept outcomes more readily. Over time, people learn that difficult conversations with a leader are challenging but fair. This reputation builds credibility. It also reduces fear because expectations are clear and communication is consistent. Leaders do not avoid hard conversations. They lead them. And in doing so, they earn respect. Chapter 10. Speaking vision that moves people. Vision is not about hype. It is about direction. Leaders do not inspire through excitement alone. They inspire by helping people see where they are going and why it matters. Vision spoken well creates movement even in uncertain times. Most people confuse motivation with vision. Motivation is emotional and temporary. Vision is mental and lasting. Leaders focus on clarity of direction rather than emotional highs. When people understand the path, they find their own motivation. Leaders speak vision in simple, concrete language. Abstract dreams sound impressive but rarely move action. Clear images of the future create focus. Instead of talking about success in general terms, leaders describe what progress looks like. This helps people mentally step into the future. Another key element of vision communication is realism. Leaders do not pretend the journey will be easy. They acknowledge challenges without dramatizing them. Honest vision builds trust. False optimism erodes it. People follow leaders who respect reality. Vision also connects present effort to future value. Leaders explain how today's work contributes to something bigger. This creates meaning. When people see purpose in their actions, commitment increases. Tone matters here as well. Vision is spoken with calm confidence, not excitement alone. Leaders avoid sounding desperate or overly enthusiastic. Controlled energy feels credible. It signals belief rather than performance. Leaders also repeat vision strategically. Repetition with purpose reinforces direction. Repetition without substance feels empty. Leaders restate vision in different contexts, using different examples while keeping the core message consistent. Another powerful tool is contrast. Leaders help people see the difference between staying where they are and moving forward. This creates urgency without pressure. People choose progress when the contrast is clear. Vision also includes values. Leaders speak about how goals will be achieved, not just what will be achieved. This sets standards for behavior. People align not only with outcomes but with principles. Leaders invite ownership into vision. They speak in a way that allows others to see their role in the future. Vision becomes shared rather than imposed. This shared ownership increases commitment. In uncertain times, vision becomes even more important. When the path is unclear, people look for direction. Leaders do not predict the future perfectly. They provide a steady direction and adjust as needed. Over time, strong vision communication creates alignment. People make better decisions because they understand the larger picture. Conflicts reduce because priorities are clear. Vision is not a speech. It is a continuous signal. And leaders speak it with clarity and conviction. Chapter 11. Authority without arrogance. True authority does not need to prove itself. Arrogance appears when insecurity is present. Leaders understand that respect is earned through consistency, not dominance. They lead with confidence, not ego. Arrogant communication focuses on self. Authoritative communication focuses on outcomes. Leaders talk about goals, standards, and direction, not about their own importance. This shift immediately changes how people respond. One of the clearest signs of healthy authority is humility in language. Leaders are comfortable saying, "I don't know," when appropriate. This does not weaken their position. It strengthens credibility. Pretending to know everything creates distance. Honesty builds trust. Leaders also give credit openly. They recognize contributions without hesitation. This does not reduce their authority. It multiplies it. People respect leaders who elevate others rather than compete with them. Another important distinction is how leaders handle disagreement. Arrogance shuts down opposing views. Authority invites them, evaluates them, and then decides. Leaders do not feel threatened by different opinions. They use them to sharpen decisions. Tone again plays a critical role. Arrogance often sounds sharp or dismissive. Authority sounds calm and measured. Leaders do not rush to assert dominance. They let clarity and consistency speak for them. Leaders also avoid comparison language. They do not position themselves above others unnecessarily. They focus on roles rather than rank. This creates mutual respect while maintaining structure. Setting boundaries is part of authority. Leaders are clear about expectations and consequences. They do not apologize for standards. At the same time, they enforce boundaries fairly and consistently. Predictability builds respect. Another key element is listening. Leaders with true authority listen without feeling diminished. They know that listening does not reduce power. It increases understanding. People follow leaders who make them feel heard. Leaders also manage success with restraint. They do not celebrate prematurely or exaggerate achievements. They acknowledge progress and stay focused on the next step. This grounded approach reinforces credibility. When mistakes happen, leaders take responsibility publicly and correct them decisively. Blame shifting is a sign of weak authority. Ownership strengthens trust. Over time, people distinguish between leaders who demand respect and leaders who naturally receive it. The difference is arrogance versus authority. One pushes people away. The other draws them in. Authority is quiet. It does not need validation. And it never relies on ego. Chapter 12. Listening as a leadership skill. Most people think leadership is about speaking well. In reality, leadership begins with listening well. The strongest leaders are not the ones who talk the most. They are the ones who understand the most. Listening is not passive. It is an active leadership skill. When leaders listen, they are not waiting for their turn to speak. They are fully present. This presence changes the dynamic of any conversation. People become more open, more honest, and more thoughtful when they feel genuinely heard. Leaders listen without interrupting. Interruptions signal impatience or superiority. Silence signals respect. Even when leaders disagree, they allow others to finish. This does not weaken authority. It strengthens it. Another important aspect of leadership listening is curiosity. Leaders ask clarifying questions not to challenge but to understand. Curiosity reduces defensiveness. It invites collaboration. People are more willing to engage when they feel their perspective matters. Listening also helps leaders read between the lines. What is not being said often matters more than what is spoken. Tone, hesitation, and body language all carry information. Leaders pay attention to these signals. In group settings, leaders often speak less but guide more. They listen to multiple perspectives, then synthesize. This synthesis is where leadership becomes visible. People trust leaders who can bring order to diverse viewpoints. Leaders also listen to uncomfortable feedback. Avoiding criticism weakens leadership. Seeking it strengthens judgment. Leaders do not react defensively to feedback. They absorb it, evaluate it, and decide what to act on. Another key skill is reflective listening. Leaders summarize what they heard to ensure understanding. This shows respect and reduces miscommunication. People feel validated even when decisions differ from their suggestions. Listening also builds emotional intelligence. Leaders become more aware of team dynamics, tensions, and motivations. This awareness allows them to communicate more effectively later. In difficult situations, listening can de-escalate conflict. When people feel heard, their emotional intensity often decreases. Leaders use this to restore calm before moving toward resolution. Over time, leaders who listen well create a culture of trust. People speak up earlier, share ideas more freely, and address issues before they escalate. This openness improves performance and decision-making. Listening does not mean agreeing. It means understanding. Leaders listen deeply, then decide clearly. This balance preserves authority while building respect. A leader's silence can be as powerful as their words, because listening is how leaders learn before they lead. Chapter 13. Confidence without overconfidence. Confidence attracts trust. Overconfidence repels it. Leaders understand the difference. True confidence is calm, grounded, and flexible. Overconfidence is loud, rigid, and defensive. One invites respect. The other invites doubt. Confident leaders do not rush to prove themselves. They are comfortable letting results speak. Their language reflects certainty without exaggeration. They avoid absolute statements unless truly necessary. This restraint signals maturity. Overconfident speech often sounds dismissive of alternatives. Confident speech leaves room for nuance. Leaders say, "This is the best option based on what we know," rather than "this is the only option." This openness increases credibility. Another sign of healthy confidence is adaptability. Leaders are willing to adjust their stance when new information appears. Changing your mind does not weaken authority. Refusing to adapt does. Confidence allows flexibility without loss of face. Leaders also manage certainty in uncertain situations. They are clear about what is known and honest about what is not. This transparency builds trust. Pretending certainty where none exists creates suspicion. Tone again plays a critical role. Confidence sounds steady and relaxed. Overconfidence often sounds sharp or overly assertive. Leaders keep their tone balanced, even when making strong statements. Confident leaders do not dominate conversations. They contribute thoughtfully and allow space for others. They do not interrupt or talk over people. This composure signals inner security. Another key element is preparation. Confidence comes from readiness. Leaders who prepare speak more clearly and with less effort. Overconfidence often skips preparation, relying on personality instead of substance. Leaders also avoid defensiveness. When challenged, they respond with curiosity rather than irritation. Defensiveness signals insecurity. Curiosity signals strength. Confidence also shows in how leaders handle praise. They accept it without arrogance and redirect it toward the team when appropriate. This balance reinforces respect. Over time, people learn to trust leaders whose confidence feels stable rather than inflated. These leaders create environments where others feel safe contributing. Confidence is quiet. It does not need to convince. It simply stands. Chapter 14. Speaking under pressure. Pressure reveals communication patterns. When stakes are high, words either stabilize the situation or make it worse. Leaders are defined by how they speak in these moments. Calm language under pressure signals control, competence, and trustworthiness. The first mistake most people make under pressure is speeding up. Their speech becomes rushed, fragmented, and reactive. Leaders do the opposite. They slow down. Slower speech creates clarity and reassures others that the situation is being handled. When a leader slows the pace, everyone else subconsciously follows. Leaders also reduce language under pressure. They focus on essential information only. Extra details increase confusion. Clear priorities bring focus. In high-stress moments, people are not looking for explanations. They are looking for direction. Another key principle is emotional containment. Leaders do not amplify fear, frustration, or panic through their words. Even when they feel stress internally, their language remains steady. This does not mean hiding reality. It means presenting reality without emotional escalation. Leaders avoid speculation during pressure situations. Guessing out loud weakens credibility. They speak only in confirmed facts and clear intentions. If something is unknown, they say so directly. Honest uncertainty is more trustworthy than false certainty. Tone becomes critical here. Leaders lower their voice slightly, keep it firm, and remove urgency from delivery even when urgency exists in the situation. A calm tone under pressure signals competence. A frantic tone spreads instability. Another leadership habit under pressure is structure. Leaders organize information into simple steps. What is happening? What matters most right now? What happens next? This structure gives people something to hold on to when emotions are high. Leaders also choose their words carefully. Certain phrases increase panic while others increase control. Instead of saying this is a disaster, they say this is serious and we are addressing it. The difference is subtle, but the impact is massive. Silence also has value under pressure. Leaders do not feel the need to fill every moment with words. Strategic pauses allow people to absorb information and regain focus. Silence used intentionally increases authority. In crisis situations, leaders repeat key messages calmly. Repetition under pressure is not insecurity, it is reinforcement. People under stress need to hear the same clear direction more than once. Leaders also stay present, focused. They do not overwhelm people with future worries or worst-case scenarios. They bring attention back to what can be controlled right now. This reduces anxiety and increases effectiveness. After the pressure moment passes, leaders communicate reflectively. They acknowledge what happened, recognize effort, and clarify next steps. This closure restores stability and trust. People remember how leaders speak when things go wrong more than when things go right. Calm leadership language during pressure becomes part of your reputation. Pressure does not create leaders. It reveals them. And leaders speak with calm when others cannot. Chapter 15. Building a leader's voice. A leader's voice is not built in a day. It is shaped over time through consistency, awareness, and discipline. The way you speak today becomes your reputation tomorrow. People begin to associate your voice with clarity, stability, and direction when your communication remains reliable across situations. Leaders protect their voice by being intentional about when and how they speak. They do not comment on everything. They do not react to every situation. Selectiveness preserves authority. When a leader speaks less but with purpose, their words carry more weight. Consistency is the foundation of a strong leadership voice. Leaders align words with actions. When communication and behavior match, trust grows. When they don't, credibility fades. A leader's voice must sound the same in calm moments and difficult ones. This predictability creates confidence in others. Leaders also invest in self-awareness. They notice patterns in their communication. They reflect on what worked and what did not. Growth in leadership communication comes from reflection, not repetition. Leaders refine their voice by learning from experience. Another important aspect is adaptability. A leader's voice remains consistent in values but flexible in delivery. Different people and situations require different approaches. Leaders adjust tone, pace, and detail without compromising clarity or respect. Leaders protect their voice by managing their inner state. Stress, ego, and fatigue all leak into language. Leaders develop habits that keep them mentally and emotionally grounded. A stable inner state produces a stable outer voice. Feedback plays a role here as well. Leaders seek honest input about how they are perceived. They do not defend themselves against feedback. They use it to refine their impact. This willingness to adjust strengthens authority over time. A leader's voice also reflects long-term thinking. Leaders avoid short-term emotional statements that may damage trust later. They speak with an awareness of consequences. Words are chosen not just for the moment but for the future. Over time, people begin to rely on a leader's communication. They feel reassured when the leader speaks. They pay attention because history has taught them that the leader's words matter. Building a leader's voice is not about sounding powerful. It is about being reliable. Reliability creates influence. Influence creates leadership. Leadership is heard before it is seen. And a strong voice carries long after the words are spoken. And that wraps up your complete guide, How to Talk Like a Leader. Now you know that leadership isn't about titles or authority. It's about your words, tone, clarity, and presence. You've learned how to build trust through calm, decisive language, handle difficult conversations with confidence, and develop a voice that lasts long term. These skills grow with practice. Every conversation, every meeting, every decision is an opportunity to refine your communication and strengthen your influence. Leadership is a habit, and now you have the tools to develop it. If you found this audiobook valuable, hit like, subscribe to Rethink, and check the link in the description for the original book. With awareness and consistent practice, your leadership voice will naturally stand out, and people won't just listen, they'll follow. Remember, leadership isn't just about speaking. It's about presence, intent, and clarity. Speak with purpose, lead with confidence, and let your voice do the work.